Hello everyone, welcome back, and today we have a very unique episode of Bourbon Bar. Today I'm going to be reviewing a Mezcal for those of you that have a taste for a little something else. It's a clear, unaged, really unique, and it's also kind of a value Mezcal. It's not one of those break the banks, and if I'm honest, I haven't seen too many really high priced Mezcals unless you're talking like Clase Azul. So this is something you should easily be able to find around 30, 35 bucks, 40 at most. But even at that, in the $30 to $40 price range, it's really going to stand out and really hold its own very well. Today I'm using a slightly different blend than my usual, but even though it's unaged, I still want to swirl it and see if it builds any kind of richness and nice legs. I do want to mention that Mezcal is made from the agave plant. It can be used from any agave plant, just like tequila. But the difference comes from the distillation process. So after it tequila gets steamed. When it's cooking, it gets pressurized and steamed. That's why it comes out so clean and sweet usually. And then Mezcal usually gets baked or roasted. And with that, when you're trapping all of the smoke inside, that's where the natural smokiness comes from. So this one particularly uses two different agave plants, one from Oaxaca and one from Puebla. I'm not super familiar with the Mexican terrain, but the point of mixing two is that you get two different ones. So I'm going to guess one of them's a highland and one of them's a lowland. It's kind of like when you're mixing grapes and wine. If you're going to mix something, you want two completely different grapes. And one from a lowland is going to be hotter and it'll soak up more spice and oak, and then one from a highland will, because it's in a colder environment, will have more natural sweetness and more fruit forwardness. So that being said, I want to take a look back. It's not quite like whiskey or like you know what, I take that back. It's getting legs, they're just different. They're like teardrops and they just keep running, whereas when you do a whiskey it becomes a thick pillar, and these are just a bunch of tiny teardrops running down. So should have a good sweetness, and I'll swirl it around and see what I can get for a nose. Really unique. This is not one of those smoke bombs like, you know, most of the cheap mezcals or sometimes the generic mezcals you have. It's a little more creamy. It does have a little smokiness, but the smokiness, it almost reminds me more of like a peated scotch. It's not quite like just a smoke bomb like I said before. You get some sweetness, you get a little like lemon zest, a little bit of apple, and then at the rear end you get a little bit of that agave, and that's kind of probably where a bulk of your sweet nose is coming from. Nice nose, not super abrasive. And after I give it time, actually those legs do start to thicken up. They do kind of show you it's going to have some nice sugars in it. Really light mouthfeel as opposed to like aged tequila or whiskey more directly, but really nice. Earthy, very gently smoky. You get some of that agave sweetness. After you get through some of those earthy notes and smoke, you kind of get a little bit of vanilla, a little creaminess, and then right at the tail end it gets a little pepper spice, and then it kind of dries up and finishes out. Not a super long mouthfeel, or not a super long finish, but it's not very short either. It goes for a little bit. It goes for about 15-20 seconds, and you kind of get that ride. Earth, smoke, then it transitions to sweet, and then it transitions back to a little bit of spice, and then from the spice it kind of dries and fades away. Overall though, this is really good mezcal. I've had quite a few mezcals out at restaurants, and I'm always game to try new ones, but just right away from a value perspective, this is going to stand out to me as one of my favorites, and anytime I try a bottle under $50, I'm probably going to have to compare it to this, just for the sake of easy availability, great price point, and then also really good quality. This is really nice. Go back in and see if there's anything I missed, and we'll get on with the show. Really quick, my good friend Joey, you know who you are. This episode's for you, my man. Really nice. I like how it's not super smoky, like I previously stated. I do like the kind of peated Scotch comparison here. And then the fruit notes of the lemon. It's more of, lemon, and then the little subtle bit of apple, and then right before it turns into like creamy and then turns back to spicy and dry. It's really interesting. It's really, really well layered. It's not flat, it's not singular or like the one dimension. Doesn't just have one dimension. It rolls out quite a bit, and it has quite a lot to offer for something that's unaged. The brand, I don't even think I mentioned the brand, Ojo de Tigre, Spanish, that's Eye of the Tiger. And this one specifically, I do want to mention that it's cooked in a fire pit with volcanic stone and then heated up with wood. So the wood burns up, you get the smoke, and then the volcanic stones kind of help create some of that earthiness. And they heat up really well too, so it helps cook it in a way that's drastically different from tequila. The nose is so earthy and kind of a little funky, and it's really nice. I like that it has, like I said, a lot of different levels of depth, and it's not just singular in any one of them. Really nice mezcal for those of you guys that like it or care to try. I hope you do, and I hope you enjoy it. Cheers, and thanks for joining me today.